All right. Okay, are we rolling?
We're rolling.
All right. I'm going to tell you a story close to my heart about my mentor, my hero, my life coach. His name was Jack. Jack was 72 years old when I met him. He died in 2012. He was a small statured man. He wore dark clothing, a fedora. He carried a walking stick everywhere he went. He taught me to live with my heart open. He taught me to give and receive love. And most importantly, he taught me to see the joy in humanity. I want to dedicate this piece to Jack. It was 1997, summertime, and I had a broken heart and was in a dark place. I was suffering daily and working with my most recent ex. My boss, he couldn't even take me anymore. He said, Narci, you got to get out. You got to heal your heart. What I needed was any excuse for an adventure. So when I got a phone call from my friend Rochelle, wanting to drive from Cleveland to Seattle, I found myself jumping on a plane to Ohio. Rochelle lived with her parents in a Hasidic neighborhood. And when she picked me up from the airport, she explained that her parents were Orthodox and it was going to be a new experience for me. Well, Jack and Sarah could not be more gracious and understanding as I tripped over myself in their kosher household. And thank goodness for me, because we had to postpone our trip for 2 weeks. Jack and Sarah owned a kosher butcher shop 1 mile from the house. So Jack suggested that I work with him in the butcher shop to make a little extra cash for the ride home. He explained that I wouldn't be able to handle product, but I could help out with the customers. So Jack and I made that walk back and forth that 1 mile to the butcher shop, chatting. I heard all kinds of stories about his life. He liked to walk. He didn't like driving. He said walking made his spirit feel free. Jack was from Poland. He immigrated to the United States in 1949. He had all the quirks of being from Eastern Bloc country. Walking that time back and forth, Jack told me stories about Polish culture, history, the food, his childhood. And after a while, hearing Jack's voice was like hearing a beautiful melody. And when he wasn't chatting with me or telling stories, he was humming a tune. And I asked him about that tune. And he said it was a lullaby that his mother used to sing to him when he was young. And now he hummed it to comfort himself and warm his heart. Jack was an incredible person. Behind his eyes and his smile was an energy that was so radiant, it could warm a room. He was so beautiful. And any person that spent time with Jack knew how extraordinary he was. One day in Cleveland, when we were just hanging out, a beautiful day, he asked me if I wanted to go for a walk. Well, I could never say no to Jack. I was always happy to walk with him, spend time with him, and hear his fabulous stories. And when we stepped outside the door that day, I think at that moment I realized exactly who Jack was. Jack was a survivor. He was a survivor of life. And in those walks back and forth, he was giving me the tools how to survive life. He told me that he lost his entire family in the war and that he had spent far too much time in horrific death camps, only being liberated from Auschwitz after being there for 2 years to start a new liberated hell. He looked at me and smiled and winked at me to let me know that it would be okay to ask any questions I wanted. I told him I only have one question to ask. How does such a beautiful person with such joy in their heart live through the most horrific memories? He looked at me and smiled and said, Narci, I live as a representative. I live with thousands of broken souls on my shoulder. They live in my joy and my happiness. And I don't intend on wasting one day in misery or sorrow. I live for them. And I'm here to say, Jack Gildar, you live on my shoulders now in my joy and my happiness, and I love you. And I thank you so much for giving me the tools to live such a joyous life. Thank you. I'm Narci Lee.